Evolution over countless years of night flying in search of food has given the owl its excellent nighttime vision. Eyes like these, large and highly specialized, may be compared with the more expensive types of camera, which can take pictures almost in the dark. In a camera, the image is of course recorded by the light-sensitive emulsion on the film. The corresponding surface at the back of the eye is called the retina. The retina is made up of many thousands of light-sensitive nerve endings. These eventually form into nerve fibers, which become the optic nerve, carrying visual impressions to the brain. Investigation has shown that the nerve endings are surrounded by a substance which plays an important part in their sensitivity to light. Known as visual purple, this substance is decomposed or bleached by the action of light and slowly regenerates when darkness is returned. Nerve endings acquiring a special sensitivity to light with the assistance of visual purple are known as rods. The owl owes much of its excellent nighttime vision to the action of such a type of cell. The human eye has other special cells to cope with the brighter light of day. Known as cones, these alone are found around the visual axis of the eye. This area, the fovea, is used for seeing detail in daytime vision. As this area is comparatively insensitive at the lower levels of illumination, the human retina may be described as being very defective to weak light falling near its center. It is obvious, therefore, that there will be a better chance of detecting an object if the eyes are directed slightly away from the line of search. This brings the image onto the area occupied by rods. Imagine this to be your field of view at night. Now, because the fovea occupies the area round the visual axis, there is an area in the center of your visual field where very little will be seen. As staring directly at any given point will place it in the center of the fovea, the eyes should be directed to a point about 6 degrees away from where you want to search. The object is now seen because its image falls on rods. Rods have little resolving power, and their message to the brain is indistinct. The wider the angle of glance, the less detailed is the message to the brain. The brain soon tires from nighttime searching, so ration your mental energy by systematic scanning. Scanning helps detection by keeping the image in constant motion across the individual rods. By keeping to this pattern for scanning, no space will be left unsearched. For a given condition of night illumination, there are two main factors which determine nighttime visibility. These are contrast and size. Contrast here means the difference of tone between an object and its background. Contrast, and therefore visibility, may vary with a change of background. Contrast is reduced by scratched or dirty materials through which you look. When a change is made in the intensity of the light presented to the eye, it is interesting to observe the effect this has upon the brain. A sudden increase of light first leads to a temporary state of glare, and the eye then adjusts itself to give normal visual comfort in the brighter light. Known as light adaptation, this adjustment is involuntary and occurs each time you walk outdoors into the sunshine. Conversely, when you return indoors, your light reaction dims, but returns again to normal. In daylight, the retina is protected by the action of the iris, here. Functioning in the manner of a camera diaphragm, the iris is opened when the light is weak and is closed when the light is strong. Strong light, iris closed. Weak light, iris open. In the lower range of light intensity, adaptation is managed largely by the rod. It will be remembered that rods depend for sensitivity on their stock of visual purple. It will be remembered, too, that visual purple is bleached by the effect of light. Here is an eye completely bleached and under test for light reaction. An imaginary device is arranged to draw a simplified graph of the amount of the effective visual purple in the eye. By switching off the light, it would be possible to watch the rate at which visual sensitivity returns. Notice that it is quite rapid at first, but that it slows down and is virtually complete in half an hour. Notice, too, that by comparison, the time required for bleaching is almost instantaneous. This is the approximate period for dark adaptation, this for light adaptation. Remember that the period for light adaptation, or the time required to bleach the visual purple with a very strong light, is almost instantaneous, and that one brief flash of very strong light is enough to upset the mechanism of dark adaptation. Dispatch riders, please note that there are other mechanisms which can get upset by loss of adaptation. Fortunately, it has been found unnecessary to do entirely without light during the time required for adaptation to the dark. Red light in moderation has little effect on the rod cells of the eyes. So, by wearing dark adaptation goggles fitted with red lenses to protect the rod, it is possible to get dark adapted in a room with normal light. Whilst wearing red dark adaptation goggles, it is possible to read. Vision during adaptation is in fact still possible because the cones, unlike the rods, are sufficiently sensitive to the red light passing through the goggles. Remember that any strong white light will spoil your adaptation, so make sure that your dark adaptation goggles fit. Once adaptation is obtained, night vision must be guarded against all unnecessary glare. Pilots should avoid unnecessary staring at their instruments. These should be dimmed when this is possible to avoid a loss of adaptation, which well might lead to this. Navigators, both in the air and those at sea, should remember to work with an absolute minimum of light. Working in dim light with one eye covered will confine your loss of adaptation to your other unprotected eye. Remember, too, that the degree of nighttime sensitivity is appreciably reduced by fatigue and by excessive smoking. Night vision is reduced by a lack of vitamins. Now, although carrots have a special value as a source of the necessary vitamins, it must not be imagined that a surplus of these can give you abnormal power to see at night. For the airman, a lack of oxygen is the most important factor which is likely to affect his nighttime vision. At heights above 15,000 feet, his visual sensitivity will be seriously impaired. It will be seen, moreover, that although a supply of oxygen now gives a sudden and marked improvement, there is appreciable time before normal sensitivity returns. Avoid this loss of adaptation by turning on your oxygen at night soon after leaving the ground. In conclusion, it should be noted that vision provides material for a lifetime study. Touching but lightly on the few essentials, we have noted first the retina, shown here in all its complex structure, which receives the image in the eye. We noted its specialized functions for day and nighttime vision. Here, in this area, the cones, which give the acuteness of your daytime vision, surrounded by the larger nighttime area, the area of the rod. Then the delicate nerve fibers, massing together to form the optic nerve, the conducting pathway of impressions to the visual area of the brain. Here also is the seat of analysis, developed by experience. Experience is another name for training, and fighting men need no reminding of the vital need of that. The fighting man, fully trained in all but the proper use of his eyes at night, will ignore the simple facts of adaptation. He may go straight from the glare of the footlight straight into the nearest street.